Hello and welcome to another video on trigonometry. In this video we're going to be trying to figure out how to find missing sides. You can see in this triangle we're missing side x. We also don't know what this side is, but it seems like the x is what we're after. So let's just explicitly state that. So find x, that's what we're after. In order to do that, the easiest way to do that is to first circle a side that you've decided is going to be the reference angle. I'm going to make it angle A. I'm not going to label any of the other angles because A is what we know. That's the angle we're going to use. And so that's going to be our reference angle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to label the other sides according to this reference angle. So I draw an arrow across. That becomes the opposite side. The side across from this right angle here we're going to label as the hypotenuse. And that leaves the other side as the adjacent side. So now, we're not sure exactly how this is going to turn out, but we know that we're going to end up with something like this. Cosine of an angle, theta, let's say, is equal to two sides, let's say E over F. It's going to be some expression that looks like that. Now, in order to solve this, you need to only have one thing you don't know. Well, for our reference angle, we already know the value, so we have this one. And if we want to solve for one of the missing sides, either E or F, we need to know the other one. So we're going to have to know one of these sides. So we're going to have to include the adjacent as well as the thing that we're missing, so the opposite side, as well as our reference angle. So we know that we're going to include the opposite and the adjacent. Now we go back to our previous discussion on how to label triangles, and we learned that you can use this handy mnemonic device in order to memorize the different trig ratios. And so I've got sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Well, I don't want that one. I want one that includes opposite and adjacent, so that one's out. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Well, I don't want to use that one either because it doesn't include the opposite. Well, that leaves tangent, opposite, and adjacent. And now all we have to do is write out the definition there, that tan of the reference angle, which in this case is 28 degrees. So let's just write that in. Tan 28 degrees is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Then we can substitute the values that we know, the opposite being x, the adjacent being 9.2, is equal to tan 28. Now we discussed before that even if this triangle was smaller, as long as it has the same reference angle, you get the same value for each of the primary ratios. So somewhere out there, there's a table with tan 28 degrees in it, and it just has the value that corresponds to it. So I can just look that up. And luckily for us, we don't have to look that up in trig tables anymore or use a slide rule or anything like that. We can just grab a calculator and look it up inside the calculator. And with modern technology, we can do even better. So we just need tan 28, and that'll just give us the value of 0.5317. So 5317 is what we're going to use there. So 0.5317 is equal to x over 9.2. Now we're just going to finish this off by multiplying both sides by 9.2, and that'll give us the value for x. So you can see these cancel out. You're left with x is equal to, see if we can add a 9.2 here, 4.89. So 4.89 is going to be the value that's missing. Now, if you started in centimeters, you end in centimeters. So let's put in centimeters here, and that is the value that was missing. Okay, so let's try another one. So in this case, it doesn't give us what's missing, but we can label according to our old system and find everything that's missing. So this is little b, That's little a, and that's little c. So remember, we have to know all the ways to label triangles in order to be able to always name the variables appropriately. So after we've done that, just use a different color. Let's use green. Now we use the angle that we know. We could figure out what angle C is. Now the side across from that is going to be the opposite. The side across from this right angle is going to be the hypotenuse. And the remaining side is going to be the adjacent side. And so what we'll do is we'll find each of those missing sides. So let's find A first. So if we're looking for A, we know the adjacent, and we're after the opposite. So we have adjacent and opposite again. So that's going to be TOA that we're going to be using here. So we'll just write out our expression, use our familiar blue, if I can grab it there. The tangent of 30 degrees is equal to the opposite side, which is A, over the adjacent side, which is 20. Now I'm going to skip some steps here because I know my calculator can do this, and some of your calculators will be able to do this as well. Okay, I'm just going to multiply both sides by 20 now. And then I know tan 30 is just some value in my calculator, so I know A is equal to 20 times whatever tan 30 is. Okay, so let's grab that and figure out what that is. So we'll get rid of this old value here. And we've got, now I've forgotten what the numbers were, of course, 20 tan 30. So 20 tan 30. This will calculate what tangent of 30 degrees is and multiply it by 20, giving us 11.55 when we round it off. Okay, so A is equal to 11.55. Now, at this point, you have two sides of a right triangle. You could go ahead and use Pythagorean theorem to solve for the hypotenuse, and that would be fine. But for this video, and for the purposes we're doing here, it makes more sense probably to do some more trigonometry. So I'm going to go ahead and use the adjacent side because it was the thing we started knowing, and the hypotenuse. So I'll just kind of do this over here. So this time we have adjacent and hypotenuse, so that's going to be ka, meaning cosine. So we have cosine of the reference angle, which is 30 degrees, is equal to the adjacent side, which is 20, over the hypotenuse, which is B. So in this case, we're finding side B. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of work here as well, all at once, and if you feel more comfortable doing this by evaluating cosine 30 first, feel free. Okay, I'm just going to multiply both sides by B and divide both sides by 20. Okay, so multiply both sides by B and divide both sides by 20. Okay. Oh, well, that's not what I want to do. Hold on a second. Okay, so let's think about this again. I want to multiply both sides by B. Oh yeah, and divide both sides by cosine 30. That'll leave the B by itself on the left. Cosine 30 degrees. Okay. And again, you can see I made a mistake when I was doing it that way. So if you feel more comfortable doing it a different way, go ahead and do so. So that'll cancel these out. And you'll be left with B is equal to 20 over cosine 30. And I'm confident that with enough practice, you'll be able to do this reliably. You see, I made a mistake, but I caught it. So B is equal to 20 divided by cosine 30, which we can do in our script calculator. 20 divided by cosine 30 is equal to 23.09. Okay, 23.09. And so what we've learned is that the important step right at the beginning that is so necessary for you to get the right answers here or even be able to progress through the problem, you have to label your triangles, okay? Label them, opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Once you do that, then you just have to decide which trig ratio you're going to use, and then it's kind of just chug and plug and chug, and you should be just fine. Okay, good luck.